The rope snapped with a loud crack that echoed through the canyon, and people scrambled to see what happened. Here, I've collected 5 disaster stories of people going even more extreme than just bungee jumping. Viewer discretion is advised. First, let's see how bungee jumping itself can go wrong. On July 18, 2021, 25-year-old Yesenia Morales stood on a bridge in northern Colombia, prepared for her first ever bungee jump. She was excited, her heart pounding with the anticipation of the jump she had planned with her boyfriend. The Amaga Viaduct, located near Medellin, was a popular spot for thrill seekers, offering the kind of extreme experiences that Yesenia, a young lawyer with an entrepreneurial spirit, had been craving. The bungee jump was supposed to be a thrilling adventure, one she could share with her loved ones. As the 90th jumper of the day, she approached the platform, waiting for the signal to leap, but then came the fatal miscommunication. The operator signaled to her boyfriend to jump first, but in confusion at the moment, Yesenia thought it was her turn. Without a second thought, she leaped from the platform, only to realize, too late, that she wasn't attached to a safety cord. In seconds, she plummeted 164 feet to the valley below. Her boyfriend rushed down to her side, performing CPR in a desperate attempt to save her. Firefighters soon arrived, but the impact had been catastrophic, leaving Yesenia with injuries far too severe to survive. Reports later suggested that she might have suffered a heart attack mid-fall, as the terror of realizing her mistake set in. Yesenia's family was left shattered by her loss. Her brother Andreas described her as a vibrant, caring woman with big dreams. Investigations revealed that several companies operating at the bungee site were unlicensed, raising serious concerns about safety protocols. Even if you wait for the safety cord to be attached, though, it still doesn't mean you're safe. In January 2023, a 39-year-old tourist from Hong Kong named Mike took a leap that would forever change his perspective on adventure. While vacationing in Pattaya, Thailand, Mike and his friends decided to visit the Chiang Thai Thap Raya Safari and Adventure Park, famous for its bungee jumping experience. Known for his love of excitement, Mike was initially there to try out the firing range, but after some encouragement from his friends, he agreed to take the plunge. Standing on a 10-story podium, Mike was filled with both excitement and apprehension. Mike dove headfirst, but just as he neared the bottom of his jump, the bungee cord snapped. The seconds that followed were a blur as Mike hit the water below, his body slamming against the surface with bruising force. The pain was immediate, his left side taking the brunt of the impact. "It was as if someone beat me up real bad," Mike recalled later. Despite the terrifying fall, Mike was lucky. His jump had been over water. If he hadn't been able to swim, he might not have survived the plunge. Footage of the accident went viral, showing the exact moment when the cord snapped. The park, which had never experienced a cord break before, quickly refunded Mike's money and covered his medical expenses, including scans to check for internal injuries. The risks of bungee jumping aside, some are still looking for a bigger rush. On May 5, 2012, 32-year-old Adam Jason Weber, an experienced outdoorsman from Salt Lake City, Utah, set out for a day of rope swinging with his fiancée, Stacy McConnell. The pair had a passion for extreme sports, often spending their weekends in the canyons of southern Utah, climbing and rappelling together. This particular day, they joined a group of fellow adventurers in Day Canyon, a secluded area known for its dramatic cliffs. Rope swinging, unlike bungee jumping, involves a pendulum-like swing after free-falling off a cliff. Where bungee jumping uses an elastic cord to absorb the fall and recoil, rope swinging creates an intense arc across the canyon, offering thrill seekers an extended, sweeping rush through the air. The exhilaration is in the speed and the swing, not in the recoil, and the setup leaves even less room for error. The group had rigged an aircraft-grade cable across the canyon, allowing them to perform a massive swing before rappelling down the canyon floor. Several people had already taken their turns, with Weber and his fiancée among the last to swing. After completing the exhilarating swing, Weber began transitioning from the swing rope to the rappel line that would lower him to the ground. But as he attempted to refasten his harness, he lost his grip. In that crucial moment, he slipped and plummeted 100 feet to the rocky canyon floor below. Rescue teams arrived quickly, and a medical helicopter was able to land at the base of the canyon. Despite their efforts, Weber's injuries were too severe. He died at the scene, leaving his fiancée stranded at the top of the canyon, watching in horror. Weber's death wasn't the first in the area. Earlier that year, 2 other climbers had died in similar accidents, and local officials were starting to crack down on the risky activities in the region. And what about bungee jumping, but just with normal rope? In October 2021, 33-year-old Yevgenia Leontieva stood on the rooftop of a hotel in Karaganda, Kazakhstan, preparing for a rope jump. Unlike bungee jumping, where the rope stretches and recoils, or rope swinging, which follows an arc, rope jumping involves a free-fall descent with a nylon rope that slows down the jumper only at the very end. For thrill seekers, it's even more intense than bungee jumping, less predictable, more dangerous, and with no room for error. It wasn't her first time. She had done this before and loved the thrill of the sport, but this time something felt different. Yevgenia hesitated, nerves getting the better of her as she watched her friends successfully complete the jump ahead of her. Her husband, Alexander Kachenka, stood below, ready to capture the moment on video. Sensing her hesitation, he called out, "I love you," offering a final word of support before the leap. The instructor, sensing her nerves, encouraged her, saying, "It's not your first time. You know what to do." Finally, Yevgenia jumped. As she neared the ground, there should have been a sudden, sharp deceleration, but the rope wasn't secured properly. Instead of being caught at the last moment, Yevgenia plummeted to the ground, crashing into an iron fence. Her husband watched helplessly as she lay motionless. He rushed to her side, and for a while, it seemed like she might survive. She was still breathing, but her injuries were too severe, and she died later in the hospital from a fractured skull and multiple broken bones. The instructor responsible for the faulty setup was later sentenced to 4 years in prison for negligence. For Yevgenia's family, no sentence could ease the pain of losing her. She left behind 3 children, and her husband was left haunted by the memory of watching her fall. Sometimes, though, the risks come from pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and nowhere was that more true than in the final leap of Dan Osman. On November 23, 1998, Dan Osman, a 35-year-old extreme sports legend, made his final jump. Known for free soloing, climbing without ropes or safety gear, and for his pioneering rope jumps, Osman had pushed the limits for over a decade. That day, he set up a 1,200-foot rope system between the Fifi Buttress and the Leaning Tower in Yosemite, a place he had jumped from countless times. But this wasn't just another jump. Osman was taking it further than ever before, extending the line by an additional 75 feet, pushing the limits of what anyone had ever attempted. He was known for falling over 1,000 feet in a controlled freefall, but now he sought to break his own record, aiming for an unprecedented distance. This leap was meant to be more extreme, more daring, and more dangerous than anything he'd done before. Osman had been a fixture in the extreme sports world, appearing in the film Masters of Stone and famously completing a speed solo of the 400-foot Bears Reach route in just 4 minutes and 25 seconds. His ability to conquer towering cliffs without safety ropes amazed audiences worldwide, but it was his rope jumps, free falls from hundreds of feet, that truly defined his career. However, on that fateful day in Yosemite, something felt off. The ropes, though appearing intact, had been exposed to rain, snow, and heat for over a month, raising concerns among his friends about their unseen deterioration. Despite their unease, Osman remained confident in his setup. Standing at the edge of the cliff, the weight of the moment pressed down on him. With adrenaline surging through his veins, he took a deep breath, steeled his nerves, and leaped into the void one last time. For a moment, everything felt like it always had. The rush of wind in his face, the ground speeding toward him, and the familiar tension of the rope catching his fall just in time. In previous jumps, Osman had always felt the joy of the rope pulling him back to safety, a calculated thrill he'd mastered over the years. But this time, the rope snapped. With a deafening crack that echoed through the canyon, his controlled fall was instantly transformed into a terrifying free fall with no safety net. His friend Miles Dasher, watching from below, froze in horror as Osman, a man who had defied gravity countless times before, plummeted uncontrollably toward the jagged rocks below. Investigations later revealed that the ropes had crossed and melted at a knot due to friction and the angle change due to the higher jump, as well as the weather damage. Dan Osman's life was defined by his pursuit of the ultimate thrill, constantly testing the limits of human capability. He left behind a daughter, Emma, and a legacy that continues to inspire climbers and adventurers. These stories remind us of the fine line between thrill and disaster. Even with the best equipment, the smallest miscalculation or a moment of hesitation can lead to catastrophic results. Which story left you the most shaken? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more stories like these.